The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mai, good afternoon. We're open line today through till 1. Call 66 13 68. Text 166 177. Email studio@manxradio.com or WhatsApp 166 177. So, something bothering you today? Something you'd like to share? Good news story, perhaps? Text, call, email and WhatsApp. Love to hear from you. Yesterday we talked a lot about TT and also Singapore. And thank you, Muriel, who said I had several stopovers in Singapore en route to Australia and can vouch for the efficiency, the dynamism of Singapore. Much of Singapore's success is down to Lee Kuan Yew, who was really inspired. It was just something that was mentioned yesterday in that it's a very small jurisdiction that's an absolute financial powerhouse. And any parallels that, not being disrespectful, yet a couple of members of the House of Keys have best intentions, but really the majority behave like, I wouldn't use the word 775. If you want to use those words, call up and say them, but I'm not going to be insulting on your behalf. But I see what you're saying. You don't trust a lot of people in Keys apart from a few. I can see a vote of no confidence around the corner as they don't do as they swore an oath to. Well, there was talk about a vote of no confidence. To be quite honest, nothing particular has happened apart from some people saying there's going to be a vote of no confidence. So really, until somebody stands up and says something, and really it's just people talking to each other. An echo chamber. But anyway, we'll see. Here's a message also that came in yesterday. Couldn't agree more with Andrew about it being a disgrace. This is Brian who talked to Andrew, basically said we should all listen to Joni Farragher and to Claire Christian, who were on with Phil Gorn last Sunday on Perspective, talking about basically doing something with the tax strategy and moving forward. But how do we move forward? Everybody wants to move forward. Everybody wants financial progress, don't we? We all want to live a good life. And for years and years and years, then there was unlimited growth on the Isle of Man, untrammeled growth, really, from 1984 onwards. We really had some good times. Well, times have changed, not just for us, it has to be said, but times have changed around the world. Got a couple of big conflicts going on, one in Ukraine, the other one in Gaza. Financial crash happened a few years ago. We really haven't got over that. So how do we as a nation move forward? Luckily, when the times were good, we built a lot of infrastructure. Otherwise, we'd have been in a real pickle. When the times were good, we built the world's longest AC electrical interconnector between Port Skillion, just down below Manx Radio, and Bispam near Blackpool. We built a new power station. We built a gas interconnector to run the gas power station. We built a new hospital. We built a new energy from waste plant. Don't call it an incinerator. The IRIS system was built. So a lot of stuff got built when the times were good. But how do we move forward? David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. Just a little thing with people or residents of Onken who live in there over by the Majestic Way, over in Howe Road there. They've had some bits of paper from Manx Telecom regarding the installation of about 7 or 8 these huge poles for the internet service and spanning wires. And I just wonder if anybody was down south who had the same issue. I remember Gren having it at the same time down south, where they got them to persuade them to put them in the pavements and micro cable them to people's houses.
That was on an estate in Colby, I think it was, wasn't it?
It was, and I've tried to find out a little bits and pieces on it, but I'm not getting anywhere at the minute, and I didn't know whether it was to do with my Lou commissioners or with Mr. Gorns, the clerk. Maybe he could help us out. But I just wonder whether people... I remember it, and I remember the animosity towards it, and the same thing's going to happen in Howe Road. So I just ask people if they need to complain. They need to complain to Manx Telecom, but they also need to complain to Onca District Commissioners. And I'm just talking as an individual commissioner now.
So just run that through us again. What are they thinking of putting up and down the length of Howe Road?
Yeah, about 9 big, massive poles. If I had good technology, I could send you the picture. I'll try to. And when it's some of them are based by a lamp column, and they're about 20 feet taller than the lamp columns in by people's houses. You'd be able to see them, I would think, in Scotland. Never mind Liverpool. Coming in on the boat there. But my concern is that I'm sure the policy was from government is not to have cables stretching over roads and in communities there. They do look awful. It's just like having a massive spider's web up and down the street. And I've had a few people on to me, and I've said to them, get on to the commissioners, the clerk, or the surveyor there. They're in on the website or in the book there, and complain, because if we don't complain, we can never do anything about it. That's the issue. I'm going to try and put that.
Well, they seem to, as I recall, the scheme in Colby was rowed back, so we'll see what happens here. But if anybody's in Colby and can refresh our memory as to how it happened, then by all means get in touch.
Yeah, now how it was stopped or how it was it put forward then. I always remember them talking about micro cabling in the pavements, and I can't understand why they can't do that in this particular location as well.
Oh, I would imagine it's because it's more expensive.
Well, it's down to the dollar in it.
I can't imagine Manx Telecom going for the most expensive option, and most companies don't.
Yeah, well, I wonder now with all these things. I hate to bring another company in. Sky something. I think Manx Radio have got it, where you use a satellite, a little dish that goes up to a satellite somewhere, Sky Control.
Yeah, we do. We have that, and also there are lots of places around the Isle of Man that don't get Wi-Fi or telephone signal. In fact, I think it's called Starlink. It's Starlink. It's Elon Musk company, and I do know for a fact that the good people at Groudle Glen Railway have got one because they couldn't get a phone signal to, the cafe at the end of Groudle Glen. Yeah, they couldn't take card payments, so they and they couldn't get a phone signal out there. So they got this Starlink system, and it links up, and they get very good internet coverage there and everything. So it's a company called Starlink.
And if anybody's got that and like to come on and say what alternatives there are, and I remember, because I think I've told you before, now I went to Stea, and you get bounced out of the telephone book. That's a downside, but people can live with that. But when you haven't got internet, and we've spent a fortune with government money at the minute, haven't we? Rolling this fibre out and the internet connections to the community and all over the place. And here we are going back to the good old days where you used to put a pole up and about 30 cables running up and down the street.
Ah, those were the days, eh?
I know. Cheers, boy.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for that. Thanks. Yes, Starlink is the company. They've got a very nice representative on the Isle of Man who'll do you a good deal, I'm told. Thanks also to WhatsApp of 575, tells me all about Starlink, and also the photos of Port St Mary High Street. The road is as rough as a... well, you can fill in the rest for yourself. Thanks for the photos of Port St Mary High Street. Does not look pretty, does it? Well, unless your idea of pretty is holes being filled in everywhere. I'm not one to moan, says Matt, but would like to ask, what are the steam packet playing at? Why aren't they using the Ben McCree as the backup ferry while Manxman's having maintenance? And are the management trying to kill the Isle of Man? I wouldn't think that's their intention, but we take the point. When he was talking yesterday, he was talking about reducing the number of crossings. This is about reducing the carbon footprint. Business on the Isle of Man struggles to get goods as it is without further delays. How can he blame it on emissions? The MV Arrow, has that got emission regulation? Yes. Are the cruise ships that visit the Isle of Man on low emissions? Says Matt. It could be, and I'm not saying it is. But when Mr. Thompson was asked how the steam packet could reduce their emissions, he did say, well, we could do fewer sailings. I think he knew in the back of his mind nobody wants fewer sailings. But maybe he was just putting that out there. Thanks for that point. And thanks for everybody telling me all about Starlink. It's very good to hear. Thank you. Yes, I know the representative is a fine chap. Hi, Neil in Douglas. We could start by moving forward by stopping wasting money on government vanity projects. Such as what, Neil? What's your government vanity projects in your mind? Eddie's on. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Andy. Okay, mate?
Good, thanks, yeah.
Yeah, you had I've got my voice back. I lost my voice for a week and a half just after the Chief Minister was on. But I've got it back now. And I was listening to your show the other day, and you had somebody come on about the government spending £1 million on some project and then totally ignoring it.
Oh, that was it was the KPMG report. Yes, the government commissioned a report from the hotshot accountant KPMG, and then didn't take notice of some parts of it. I'm not saying they didn't take notice of all of it. There were parts of it that the government didn't agree with, basically.
That's right, yeah. It was just to sum up that, really. I mean, there's so many things that they spend money on and then totally ignore the findings. Example is your swimming pool and the KPM or whatever it is. They're all things that we seem to throw money to find out something and then ignore the answer. And, it's no wonder that people are not trusting where the government are spending the money and things like that.
That's interesting because I got a note in this morning from a lady called Brenda who said, and she mentioned the Southern swimming pool as well, and she said, it's interesting. She said she used to work for a company and she used to kind of vet their shops and go around their shops as a mystery shopper. And she said, it's interesting, if one part of the shop is wrong, if they're getting little parts of the shop wrong, there's something wrong at the top. And she said, it's almost like with a swimming pool. She said, in a note, it just says, swimming pools, as I see it, are very simple things. How can you get a swimming pool wrong? And if they're getting swimming pools wrong, what else are they getting wrong?
That's right. Well, I mean, you look at it now at the swimming pool. It's still closed on a Sunday, which was the busiest day. I think it's closed on a Wednesday, I'm not sure. But they haven't even put the cafe back, which was the only thing that actually made money. So the point is they seem to ignore the professional information that they buy. So, why not go to the people right away? Which brings me to the point I want to talk about, really. I was listening to Liz Riley on the radio this morning, and she's given an update about what they're up to and everything about the wildlife survey.
Oh, about these ecology surveys.
That's it, yeah. Well, as usual, an absolute load of rubbish. If anybody wants to know, ask what they want to do. Instead of all these paying fortunes out for all these surveys, I, for one, moved up here for two things, ornithology and astronomy. And on top of that, the place is absolutely gorgeous. Scenery is fantastic. Right? Now, I've pointed out how many things we will lose, biosphere, dark skies, you name it, so on. But if anybody wants to know, if this government wants to know about the wildlife up here, the place is full of them up here. We have more ornithologists around this area, I would say, than anywhere else on the Isle of Man. So they could actually ask us, we'll tell them. The wildlife, the Manx BirdLife and the RSPB, they've given loads of information about what's around here and all the rest of it. And they haven't moved in any way. They still say that if the wind farm goes ahead, it will not be good for anything up here. Not anything whatsoever. And if they want to know, we have the MUA itself want to be totally aware that we've been watching them while they've been doing their survey. And I'll give you a couple of for instances. They were supposed to be doing a bird survey one day, and I went up there with a few other people, and we listened, and they're drilling. How can you expect birds to stay where they are when you've got a hammering away at the land with drills? Just absolutely. But that drove not just all those birds away. It went on for quite a while. It drove the bats away. If there's a lady goes up there on horses, and she says to me, all the birds have moved to one side of the forest. And the bats, and the wildlife, everything. They have actually done it themselves. They've had fellas up there cutting trees down. And they say it's for some other reason. But this is all government money being wasted. We already know what's up there, right? And there's something just recent about the curlews, which is an endangered species. Right? Well, why don't they ask the people who know? Because when they've spent all this money on this survey that they're doing, not one person in the Isle of Man will believe what they come up with, because we know what their pattern is for everything that they throw money at. They never listen to it. And there's an added interest here, surely. The MUA are the ones who want to put the damn things up. So they're not going to tell us the truth about it, but we already know the truth. And it's just absolutely stupid. We already know, because of all their activities, everything has already been disturbed. So they're not going to get a true reading in any way whatsoever.
For the non-bird watchers who are listening, Eddie, what's the feeling in the community, in the ornithological community like?
Well, people ask us. They ask us they say, what is really happening up there? And I say, well, look, we've got I even give them I don't want to put any names out over the air just without asking permission, but we've got absolute experts up here about every part of the environment that you want to know. So we don't need to get some people say that the swimming pool costs 50 grand or something like that, maybe more. God knows that they're spending millions here on these surveys. We already know what is up there. We've got, I think I brought it out when the Chief Minister was on. The planning knocked back the building site on the marsh at Ramsey. There's 2 rare clovers on that part. There's a few rare birds, things like that. So they knocked it all back. So my point that I put to Alf Cannon when he was on was, why on earth are you even bothering carrying on when 2 or 3 items in Ramsey cause them to say, no, you can't do it. Yet here we've got 10 to 15 different things that we can put down as bad, right? But that's nearly 5 times the amount of Ramsey. So why bother even trying to get permission? Because it'll get knocked back, won't it, if there's any consistency in planning? You know what I mean?
If we're going to have wind turbines on land, where do you think they should be?
Not on land at all. Keep them off the land. The Isle of Man is in fact, there's a few. It's in the pipeline now. I'll give you a bit of a preview on what we might be trying to do. Is we may be actually putting a petition out to the whole of the Isle of Man to try and get a status of a national park, the whole of the Isle of Man. Because if you think about it, we've got glens everywhere. They're already established. We've got about 9, or is it 11 now, bird sanctuaries. We have the places, the sea around us. There's about 5 of them which are designated as places not to be touched because of outstanding whatevers and this and the other. The whole Isle of Man is like a nature reserve, so it should be kept. We shouldn't even interfere with it. We should look at, I've said this a dozen times and I'll say it again, we should be looking at alternatives, not an onshore wind farm.
Okay.
It will kill the Isle of Man.
All right, I'm glad you got your voice back anyway.
Thank you.
Good to hear from you.
I'll be back.
All right, thanks.
Hello, this is Doug Farragher. In conjunction with Manx Radio, I'd like to invite you to join us and learn something about our native Gaelic tongue, the language of man.
Just a quick word about the Southern Swimming Pool. It's completely closed. Well, it's closed on Wednesday. Only opens at 4 o'clock on Wednesday. Closed on Good Friday. Closed on Easter Sunday. Open on Saturday till 4:30, and it's closed on Easter Monday as well. But the Southern Pool is there. We should be thankful for the fact that the Southern Pool has made it this far. And Gordon's on now. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, Andy.
What's on your mind?
I just wanted to make a comment on what David Quirk was talking about.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me turn my radio off. Hang on. Yeah, this planning from Manx Telecom.
Yeah.
It's not just Colby. We're having it in Ramsey as well.
Whereabouts in Ramsey?
Up behind the golf club, Fairway Drive. There aren't enough ducts in the street to do, the connections to the houses, so they're going to put poles in all the way up this estate.
And when did you get notification of this?
Got a copy of they sent a copy of the planning application to every household about 3 weeks ago.
Okay, what's the feeling on the street?
Some people are for it, some are against. I mean, I'm personally for it because with fibre, when it comes into your house, the router will go at the front of the house wherever it comes in. My desktop PC is upstairs at the back of the house, about 10 or 12 metres away. So how do you connect one to the other? So if it comes in overhead, it can just go straight into my roof space, and I can take it through the roof space to the back of the house. So I'm quite for it.
So, okay, all right. So that was about 3 weeks ago. When did they say it's going to happen?
Well, they were just telling everybody that they're putting a planning application in.
Right.
So it's dependent on the planning process, which I suppose takes a couple of months.
Oh, okay. So they're trying to find out who's going to be objecting to it all.
Yes. So, I mean, the work probably won't happen till sometime in the middle of the summer.
And they say, there's not enough ducts in the pavement?
There's a duct on our street, there's a duct on the other side of the other pavement, on the opposite side to us there's a duct, because some people have had fibre put in, but there's no duct on this side of our side of the street. So all the houses on one side of the street are going to have to be fed from these poles.
So how does your PC cope at the moment? How do you get a decent download and upload speed?
Well, I'm on copper broadband.
Right.
We don't use more than about 20 gig a month. So I mean, the cost of fibre would double what I'm paying at the moment. So I'm just going to keep the copper till they phase copper out. I'm not going to switch till I have to.
Okay. All right. Gordon, I appreciate your call today.
Okay, Andy.
Good to hear from you.
Ever thought your storage could be more smart, more spacious, more stylish? Discover chic and clever bedroom storage solutions at Lifestyle Furniture. Crafted with care and precision, our range of sliding door and hinged wardrobes is available in a wide choice of sizes and beautiful finishes, all with 0% finance, and we'll deliver and build them for you absolutely free. Find a smarter wardrobe at Lifestyle Furniture, Snugborough Trading Estate and Union Mills. Finance available subject to status. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
In our quest to remove all single-use plastic from our milk packaging, Isle of Man Creamery cartons, including the new 1.75 litre carton, are now 100% recyclable, made from sustainable and renewable sources. We're the first in the British Isles to offer these new large cartons, and you can pick them up now in local retailers or add them to your Isle of Man Creamery doorstep delivery. Plant-based cartons from Isle of Man Creamery. Better for the environment, better for you.
The Loganair Easter sale is now on. Fly from the Isle of Man to Manchester, London Heathrow and London City Airport. Save up to 15% off over 1 million seats across the Loganair network. Book by 2nd April, travel from 26th April. Subject to availability, exclusions apply. Visit loganair.co.uk. Your journey, our joy.
Parker and Snow Company proudly present Wendy and Peter Pan. Take an enchanting journey to Neverland in Ella Hickson's acclaimed reimagining of J.M. Barrie's magical novel. Full of swashbuckling adventure, timeless charm and plenty of fairy dust. Book now at villagerty.com or on 600 555.
Gilg J as Gilg Sarah. Avishan-Rish.
A Gilg, the Manx Gaelic. Chinianamera, the mother tongue of Mannin, the Isle of Man.
Avishan-Rish.
You can catch up with more of Manx Radio's Manx language programmes in the weekly podcast Abershen-Rish. Say that again.
Avishan-Rish.
Shene, that's the one.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Thank you, Mikey C. Regarding my old chestnut about the scoreboard from 2022. And he sent me his 2022 email that said it would cost £120,000, not millions. So who's getting there? The 800,000. And the email from 2022 says, Andy, I spoke to LED scoreboards in southern England, and they said they could do 2 replacement 4x4 metre electronic boards for £120,000. They quoted maximum £200,000. That was 2 years ago, so it may have gone up, but £200,000 for 2 4x4 metre electronic boards, software included. And that was there. So just going back to the TT scoreboard, various opinions as to whether or not it's iconic and we need it and it should be there all year round, or whether we should, as it were, move with the time to get something newer. Any thoughts on that? Bonzo's on now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hello. I just switched over from listening to Key's questions, and I see Eddie is out on his soapbox again with a variety of information, some of it slightly based on fact, some of it not at all. So let's address a couple of his issues. I know he seems to have a particular prejudice against Lizzie Riley, because Lizzie Riley actually knows, would seem from what I've seen, to actually know what she's talking about. If these surveys weren't being conducted and then the wind farm planning application was approved, guess who'd be the first person screaming about the fact that there weren't any surveys done? Eddie and his ilk. It's just using elements of the process very selectively in order to justify his "we don't want them in our backyard," and this constant use of the we know the truth, we know the... Who's he? I mean, who is this we, for a start? That's absolute nonsense.
Well, it is an honestly held opinion, Bonzo.
Well, he can honestly hold his opinion, but when he starts to try and parade it as fact and then push it everywhere, that's just not on. When it also comes to, he was using an argument about the Ramsey pool, whatever it's called, can't remember now.
Paul Dewey.
Paul Dewey, yeah. Development rejection, and that it was rejected because of a couple of rare species, or something of rare flora on the flood area. No, that might have been a very sort of minor issue that contributed to that, but the main reason was the flood risk. Now, from that dreadful thing that he thinks doesn't happen, climate damage. And the way that these people, I've been hearing some rather concerning skeet about the people who are having to do the surveys and work up at Erie Stain, in that they've had some incidents, I believe, from protesters, and the harassment that they've been getting has been such that the police have had to be called. That's the skeet that I have. Obviously, I would be interested if MUA or indeed the Erie Stain people would care to comment on that.
So where do we go from here, Bonzo?
Well, we talk about the Victorians and how marvellous they were about doing things. Yes, that's because they got on and did them. The wind farm has... And they've been shown again and again and again to be the most cost-effective solution. And MUA are going through all the processes and more that I can see that are required in order to ensure that if planning permission is given, it is given with due consideration to all the factors around it.
So the fact that, and again, let me phrase this, the fact that the Isle of Man is a big centre for ornithology. I'm not an ornithologist. I really wouldn't know one end of a bird from the other, but it is spoken of in glowing terms as being a World Heritage Site for ornithology. And if this wind farm, laudable though it sounds, if that harms our status as a world centre for ornithology, would you say that Eriestrain was the wrong place to put it and it should be put somewhere else where it won't affect birds?
Well, I think the idea that somehow Eriestrain is the ornithological centre of the universe, I think that's at best quite debatable. I noticed that Eddie was talking about curlews. From what I remember, curlews live on the shoreline and not up in Eriestrain. But that's those are facts. Let's not dwell on those. As I say, those things about bird impact, wildlife impact, such as on frogs and such, that is all being done. That is all being considered. And as I say again, the people who are opposed to the wind farm, if it was then given planning permission, if those surveys weren't done, they'd be the first to shout and complain.
Bonzo, we're now in virtually April 2024. They say that the wind farm is going to be up and spinning by 2026. Do you believe it?
That's possible. Yes, because the actual putting up of the wind farm is, it's not that great a time frame you need to do it. Most of the timing of it is about doing these surveys and going through the planning process. The actual process of constructing the wind farm, getting up and running, a few months.
Okay, all right. Thanks for calling, Bonzo.
Okay then, cheers, bye.
Okay, well, let's get to the bottom of this. 3 ecology surveys are being undertaken by Manx Utilities, the old MEA and Water Board, that is, as part of the onshore wind farm data gathering process. They hope to understand the extent to which wildlife and the ecology use the area at Eriestrain and what impact the renewable energy infrastructure, the wind farm, could have. So the program manager, she's been on this program for the program manager for Manx Utilities is Lizzie Riley, and here's what Lizzie has to say.
These are bat surveys, ornithological surveys, and lizard and frog surveys. And what we're specifically doing with these surveys is understanding the behaviours of these animals at the site, how they interact with the site as well, and further down the line that allows us to identify specific mitigation measures if required that will help us to make sure we minimise the impact to as much as possible.
Talk to me about reptile mats. They sound quite intriguing. How do they work?
The time of year that we're in at the moment, you might start to see lizards coming out of hibernation. And the first thing they want to do is they seek heat. So they try and warm themselves up. So the mats on a warmer day are particularly attractive to them because it allows them to go and bask in the sun and they pick up the heat energy from the sun. But further down the line, as we move into warmer months where they don't necessarily need that energy, they can also use the mats to hide from predators. So what's involved from us from that perspective is our teams will go around the site and they are looking at these mats. They're a really good place to spot reptiles, and it's the best way for us to identify what level of risk there is to that organism at the site.
And once you've got that data in place, what will that contribute towards your kind of final decision makings within that final data set?
Two things really that they contribute to. The first is within the environmental impact assessment themselves. It's specifically defining what that impact is likely to be if we were to go ahead. These surveys are really part of a multi-pronged approach that we're undertaking, and we've actually, for example, with the bird surveys, been undertaking these works since September, but we're moving into a period of nesting and mating season, and we would expect birds to behave in a very different way at this time of year. So it's actually a change in the approach we're taking with surveys.
So 700 or so reptile mats have been deployed, coinciding with the end of hibernation, monitored until September. I can guarantee you one thing, not one bird will phone Mannin Line. Not one bat or lizard will send me an email or WhatsApp. None of them, no birds, bats or lizards, will write a strongly worded letter to the examiner. I'm not being facetious. We won't hear from the animals. So we have to rely on experts as to how this is going to affect our ecology, something that we trumpet. We've got a biosphere status, which we're very proud of. So what is this going to do to it? We have to take notice of the experts, perhaps believe the experts, who will then advise the government as to what will happen at Erie Stea. I just wonder, what's your opinion? What's your gut opinion? Maybe it's heart over head? What do you think about this particular project at Erie Stea? When the wind farms, if the wind farms are up and spinning, will you look upon it with pride and say, we're playing our part? Or do you say that was a shame because of the animals and the insects and the reptiles and the birds?
It's National Bed Month. And at B&B Furniture, our fully trained, friendly bed specialists are waiting to help you find your perfect night's sleep. From over 50 beautiful beds to suit every budget, all with 0% finance too. And just for Bed Month, there are extra savings on every bed, plus a full bedding pack, duvet and pillows, fitted sheet, duvet cover and pillowcases. Now's the perfect time to treat yourself to the bed your body deserves at B&B Furniture, Snugborough Trading Estate.
Spectrum Windows. If your house needs a new look and your windows let in rain, keep those cold breezes out and make it look like new again. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Quality through and through. Great work guaranteed to you. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Spectrum Windows.
Ramsey Garden Centre is open every day over Easter. And with being 3 times larger than last year, it is well worth a visit. New choices for indoor and out. Visit Ramsey Garden Centre on Albert Road or check out our Facebook.
At Isle of Man Energy, we're excited to offer our customers the Alpha E-Tech efficient hybrid gas boiler and heat pump combination. This state-of-the-art hybrid boiler causes minimal disruption to your existing heating system, making it simple to upgrade. Priced from just £65 a month and with 6-year warranty as standard, which can be extended to 10 years, what are you waiting for? Register for a free consultation at isleofmanenergy.im.
As your public service broadcaster, it's crucial for Manx Radio to mirror the Isle of Man. That's why we're asking the question, what matters most? We want to know your opinions of the nation station and island life. Your thoughts could play a vital part in shaping our news and current affairs programmes. Go now to manxradio.com to take part in our short online survey. And as a thank you for taking part, you'll be entered into a prize draw to win either dinner, bed and breakfast for 2 at the Mannin Hotel, a £100 heating or road fuel voucher from Ellen Vannin Fuels, or a 12-month family pass for Groudle Glen Railway. What matters most? Take part now at manxradio.com.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Eddie's on now. Hi, Eddie. Oh, no, it's Tony. Hi, Tony.
Oh yeah. Hey, Andy, how you doing?
Good, thanks, yeah.
I didn't think I was Eddie anyway, but okay.
It's funny, I often wonder who I am.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's very confusing, isn't it? You can't get anybody to tell you the truth anymore. I've got one thing for Bonzo is I'm glad he's a technical expert on wind farms, but I think you'll find that the biggest lead time issue with a wind farm is ordering the turbine, the mast, and the blades. And also, there's a little thing called infrastructure, which is the main switchgear you'd need to put in place and the cables to get it to a main power station link, because it's not a small amount of power. So he's completely off base, I think you'll find. He might be telling you what somebody else has told him, but I don't think he's technically correct one iota. He's also calling people who live in an area as being wrong. But he doesn't live there, I assume. But the person who does live there would be aware of something, but they're not being included in this survey. And that is what I think is their problem, that they're saying, well, you're not even asking us. So I'll come back to the so-called, survey they're doing. Who from Manx Electric is the qualified person or people to actually do this survey? Is this somebody out of school? They've said, OK, go up there and count how many people are in this area here, or count how many ferrets you see come out here, or count how many frogs you see. Are they in a position to actually identify anything? So the thing is, we keep getting all these people come on and tell us how they're wonderful they are at doing stuff, but we never get to hear who actually is doing it physically, because that's secret. And it applies to everything in the Isle of Man. If you do a survey and you don't get the right answer, I'll do another survey until I do get the right answer. That's what they do.
Do you think, given, sorry to mix my metaphors, but given a fair wind, if they said today yes, will this thing be up by 2026?
No way, I don't think. Unless they're not telling the truth and they've already made the main orders placed with somebody as an interim order, because you'd have to write something and say, right, we want to order X number of turbines and I need this ready by this date and I want it shipped in here. These are not little things. These will be shipped on something that's a very large piece of kit.
Of course, and they have to construct some sort of landing stage from sea to actually get these things onto land and then possibly build a road to get it to Erie Stain.
Not to mention the size of the crane you're going to need to lift it. Do we have a crane that big on the Isle of Man? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Has Manx Electric checked it? Who in Manx Electric has got the skill set to put one of these up? Or are they going to farm it out to DLI, our favourite company who knows everything? Andy, I'm not being funny. I've got nothing against alternative energy. But I think this is just another, we'll build a wind farm, that will solve our problems. When the wind doesn't blow, it won't solve your problems. And whatever Bonzo says, the wind doesn't blow all the time, and it can't always turn. If it blows too hard, then you can't have the wind turbine running, because it'll damage itself, and they actually turn them off. But they still get paid for them because the wind's too high, so they still get paid amount of money. But this is going to be owned by the DLI, I assume.
It would be nice to know, as you say, where is the money? Well, first of all, who's making money out of this? Which little bit along the line, as you say, when they feather the blades because of high wind, and as you say, there has to be rent paid. Who's paying what to whom?
Well, I assume the government's going to pay the Manx Electric and subsidise them, as we do already, because we did the same thing when they went and spent a load of money, borrowed a load of money and spent it, but didn't tell anybody in government. And that was why, as it's been a stated fact, that they had to put all the utilities together, because Manx Utilities, without doing that, the electric would be broke. I mean, physically, financially broke. And that was, I remember that being, was it 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, it was a while, and still gets talked about all the time.
That's because we're still paying for it.
And will be for a while.
Our electricity is more expensive than the UK. Because we're paying that debt off still. I mean, okay, they restructured it, but it's still being paid as a debt. So I have no faith at all in what I'm being told. If I could be honestly feel that I'm getting the truth and I'm getting something that's detailed enough for us to look at and say that makes a lot of sense, it'd be different. But I haven't heard one thing that makes a lot of sense or is detailed.
All right.
No names attached to anything, except I'm in charge of this, and trust me, everything will be all right. The sun will come up tomorrow and it'll be rosy. Oh, and by the way, the wind's going to blow when I want it to. I think the interconnector is the other element of this, which they're going to put a new interconnector in, which I think is going to go ahead whatever we do, whatever you say or don't say. Yeah. But nobody has talked at all about the fact that the power station is supposedly going offline in the near future. I don't know exactly when, but they keep poking out items and when. Where's the baseload coming from? Are we going to get that through the interconnector?
Do you really think they'll take the power station offline?
Well, they haven't said they're going to repair it, they're going to refurbish it, they haven't said they're going to carry it forward. Nobody will say anything about it because that would be detrimental to their perceived position that we've got to go carbon neutral. So what are we going to do? Instead, are we going to keep the power station on and buy carbon credits from Elon Musk and the Chinese? Is that the idea? Why don't they start just coming out and telling us what they're going to do and tell the truth? Then you get a lot more comments that are not negative, and Bonzo would be very happy because we wouldn't want to stay in the dark ages, as he puts it. You know, this is the trouble is the government does not tell the truth, and they're not open enough, and they don't do the right thing. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
I'll give you another example. We've been told that the Manxman's having scheduled maintenance, right? In actual fact, they're trying to fix the evacuation system.
I've been watching it all morning out of the windows here.
And why are they doing that? Because somebody pressed the wrong button at some point, it fell down, and they didn't know how to put it back. So they had to get a crane to lift it back up. That was months and months and months ago. So I don't know if somebody's got the wiring diagram out and decided which button it is. But the issue is, it's not scheduled maintenance. This is repairing something that didn't work. So say it what it is. It's not scheduled maintenance. And if you want scheduled maintenance, you've bought a ship that is so complex that people don't know how to run it. I mean, I'm not being funny, but I guarantee you that half the electronics on board, nobody here could even fix it. They'd have to get somebody in. And we've never heard an update about the vibration, other than the fact they had a bunch of chaps over from, where was it, Taiwan?
Korea.
Came over.
Korea,
that's it. No, sorry, my fault. South Korea. Came over, and then that was it. They've come over to tell us what's wrong with it. No, they haven't. They've come over to put in vibration sensors, I guess, because they didn't tell the truth again. The problem is, it's a publicly owned company. They need to understand we're not trying to do their jobs for them. We just want to know because, believe it or not, we pay your salary now. And the taxpayers getting really fed up with the fact that the government increases taxes and then goes ahead and things like, you offer somebody a job, an AI executive job or something. AI?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and how much are they going to get paid?
£100,000 minimum.
So my question is that something we need, or is that what department's that going to work for?
Okay, all right, Tony, good to hear from
Andy,
you.
We just need more clarity. The government needs to stop telling us what they want us to hear and what they think we should know and start telling the truth.
All right.
Just be open and honest about it.
Good to hear from you.
Take care. Enjoy yourself.
All right, thanks for that. We were going to talk to somebody else who was asking about the AI head, but I can tell you the Manx government is looking for somebody to be the head of artificial intelligence. The salary on offer's already attracted criticism from a few MHKs, but it might be questioned whether or not the offer is enough, because being a boss of AI makes you an awful lot of money, and the £100,000 we may be offering to somebody to be head of artificial intelligence on the Isle of Man may not be enough. So any thoughts on that? Lots of people got lots to say also about the polls that are coming in from Manx Telecom. Thanks for that. They're trying to do the same in Andreas. They're wanting to put up massive polls, says Rob C. It's a step back in time. They don't want the big polls. Thanks also. Just wondering if anybody knows of any of our MHKs who was responsible for wasting money on the out-of-date warehouse full of PPE equipment that's being stored at our expense at a DIY warehouse in Derby until it's eventually taken to the incinerator, energy from waste plant, to be burned. Is it there now? Is that PPE stuff still there? Of course, the foot boot will be on the other foot if we needed the PPE and we didn't have enough, I suppose. Most of the people I spoke to have lost faith in our leaders. We're a bit scared about the future, what they got planned for us, disregard for our needs, wasting money on reports and green energy scams. And as for the biosphere, well, 5G towers and turbines will destroy our biosphere status, says texter 600. Is that true? Note in from 488, Manx Telecom won't put fibre into a roof space. They're not allowed to put fibre through attics, apparently. Well, we learn something every day. The fibre broadband we have underground, and when they set up, I asked for it to be put at the back of my house. Manx Telecom did it absolutely no problem. Another open line tomorrow. Wednesday, remember, Thursday, constituency Mannin Line for Douglas Central with Chris Thomas and Ann Call at MHK's. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
WINT